The stars in the Kepler 442 system looked cold and distant as Ambassador Cathara stared out from the bridge of her ship. The Star Whisper was not a war vessel. It was built for peace talks and diplomatic missions, with smooth white walls and gentle curves that spoke of the Zephyrian way of life. Everything about her people was soft and peaceful, from their pale blue skin to their quiet voices. Cathara had spent 3 long months trying to make peace with the Corvan Federation. The talks had failed badly. The Corvans wanted war, not peace. They called the Zephyrians weak and useless. Now she was taking her small convoy of 5 ships back home to deliver the bad news to her government. The journey should have been safe. This part of space was supposed to be neutral territory. No, one was supposed to attack diplomatic ships here. But as Cathara watched the stars, she knew something was wrong. Her ship's sensors were picking up movement in the darkness ahead. "Ambassador," said Captain Yilnith from his seat at the ship's controls. His voice was shaking. "We have 12 ships coming toward us. They are moving fast." Cathara felt her heart sink. 12 ships was far too many to be a normal patrol. She moved to stand behind the captain's chair and looked at the screen showing the approaching vessels. The ships were dark and angular, built for hunting and killing. She recognized them immediately. "Vorthons," she whispered. The Vorthons were everything the Zephyrians were not. Where her people sought peace, the Vorthons brought war. Where her people built beautiful things, the Vorthons made weapons. They were tall and strong, with gray skin like stone and red eyes that burned with anger. They had been conquering worlds for over a century, turning peaceful planets into slave colonies, or burning them to ash. "Send a message to the escort ships," Cathara ordered. "Tell them to prepare for—" Her words were cut off as the space around the convoy suddenly filled with light. Bright red beams shot out from the Vorthon ships, striking the Zephyrian vessels. The energy weapons hit their shields with tremendous force. The Star Whisper shook like a leaf in a storm. "Shields are failing," Captain Yilnith called out. "We cannot take much more of this." One of the escort ships, the Moonbeam, was already in trouble. Smoke was pouring from its engines, and it was drifting helplessly through space. The other escort ships were firing back with their small defensive weapons, but their shots barely scratched the Vorthon hull armor. A new voice filled the bridge, coming through the communication system. It was deep and harsh, speaking in the common galactic language with a thick Vorthon accent. "This is Captain Vexthor of the Hunter Fleet Bloodfang. Zephyrian ships, you will surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will destroy you all." Cathara looked at her captain. Yilnith was a good officer, but he was not a warrior. None of them were warriors. The Zephyrians had not fought a real war in over 300 years. They had almost forgotten how to fight. "What are our options?" she asked quietly. "We have none," Yilnith replied. His voice was full of defeat. "Their ships are too strong. Our weapons are too weak. If we try to run, they will catch us. If we try to fight, they will kill us." Another escort ship, the Gentle Rain, exploded in a ball of fire and metal. The crew had been trying to use their ship as a shield to protect the others. Now they were dead, turned to atoms in the cold of space. "Send out a distress call," Cathara ordered. "All frequencies, emergency priority." "Already done, Ambassador," said the communications officer. "But the nearest friendly fleet is 6 hours away. The galactic patrol is even further. No one can reach us in time." Cathara closed her eyes and tried to think. Her people had always believed that reason and diplomacy could solve any problem. They had always believed that if you were peaceful and kind, others would be peaceful and kind in return. But the Vorthons did not care about peace or kindness. They only understood strength and fear. The Vorthon ships were moving closer now, surrounding the convoy like wolves around a wounded deer. Cathara could see the details of their hulls through the bridge windows. They were covered in scars from old battles and painted with symbols that meant death and conquest. "Zephyrian ships," Captain Vexthor's voice came again. "You have 30 seconds to surrender. After that, my hunters will take your ships by force. Your people will become slaves. Your worlds will burn. This is your only warning." "Ambassador," whispered Captain Yilnith. What do we do? Cathara felt the weight of decision crushing down on her. If she surrendered, her people would be enslaved. If she fought, they would all die. Either way, the Vorthan Empire would learn about Zephyrian space routes and colony locations. Either way, her homeworld would be in danger. She was about to give the order to surrender when the sensor officer suddenly called out, "Contact! New ship approaching from the outer system." Everyone on the bridge turned to look at the sensor display. A single ship was racing toward them at incredible speed. It was much smaller than the Vorthan hunters, but it was moving faster than anything they had ever seen. "Can you identify it?" Cathara asked. The sensor officer worked at his controls for a moment. "The energy signature is strange. The ship design is unknown." "Wait," he paused, checking his readings again. "Ambassador, I think it might be human." A human ship. Cathara had heard stories about the humans, but she had never seen one of their vessels before. They were a new species in the galaxy, having only achieved faster-than-light travel about 50 years ago. Most people said they were primitive and violent, coming from a world so dangerous that it had tried to kill them for millions of years. But what could one small human ship do against 12 Vorthan hunters? The human ship came out of the darkness like a bullet. It was not beautiful like Zephyrian vessels or scary like Vorthan hunters. It looked like a working ship, built for carrying cargo from one place to another. The hull was gray metal with patches where repairs had been made. Long scratches and burn marks showed it had seen hard use. Captain Vexthor watched the approaching vessel from his command chair aboard the Bloodfang. His red eyes narrowed as he studied the readings his officers gave him. The ship was called Iron Wolf according to its identification signal. It was registered to Earth, the human homeworld. "A human cargo ship," Vexthor said with a laugh that sounded like grinding stone. "One small freighter thinks it can challenge the Bloodfang fleet." His officers laughed too. The Vorthans had heard stories about humans, but they were not impressed. Humans were young and weak compared to the great races of the galaxy. They had only left their homeworld recently. What could they possibly know about real warfare? "Shall we destroy it now, Captain?" asked the weapons officer. "Not yet," Vexthor replied. "Let us see what this human wants. Perhaps it wishes to beg for scraps from our hunt." On the Star Whisper, Ambassador Cathara watched the human ship with growing hope and fear. Hope because any help was better than no help. Fear because she did not want more innocent beings to die for her people. "The human ship is hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Cathara ordered. A new voice filled the bridge. It was calm and steady, speaking common galactic with a strange accent that made some words sound hard and sharp. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the independent vessel Iron Wolf, Zephyrian convoy. Are you in need of assistance?" Cathara stepped forward to answer. "Captain Morrison, this is Ambassador Cathara. We are under attack by Vorthan forces. Please do not risk your ship for us. You should leave this area immediately." There was a pause. Then the human captain spoke again, and there was something in his voice that made Cathara shiver. It was not fear or anger, it was something colder. "Understood, Ambassador, I see the situation. Give me a moment to talk to these Vorthans." Before Cathara could respond, the communication channel switched. Now Captain Morrison was speaking to the entire area, his voice reaching every ship in the system. "Vorthan vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. You are attacking a peaceful diplomatic convoy in neutral space. This is against galactic law. I am ordering you to cease fire and withdraw immediately." The bridge of the Bloodfang fell silent. Then Captain Vexthor began to laugh again, louder this time. "Ordering us?" he said into his communication system. "Human, you are in a cargo ship. We are 12 hunters. You will leave now or we will add your wreckage to the debris field." "I gave you a lawful order," Morrison replied, his voice still calm. "You have chosen to ignore it. That makes you pirates and criminals. Last chance to reconsider." Vexthor's laughter stopped. No one had ever spoken to him like this. Lesser races begged or ran when they saw his fleet. They did not give him orders. "You dare threaten me?" Vexthor snarled. "I am Captain Vexthor. I have conquered 12 worlds. I have burned cities and enslaved millions. What are you, human? What makes you think you can stand against the Bloodfang fleet?" The response came immediately, and it sent a chill through every being who heard it. "I am Jake Morrison, formerly of the Earth Defense Force, 7th Colonial Marines. I fought in the Titan Wars, the Europa Rebellion, and the Asteroid Belt Campaign. I have killed more enemies than you have conquered worlds. And right now, I am the only thing standing between you and a very bad day." On the Star Whisper, Ambassador Cathara felt her breath catch. She had heard whispers about human military forces. Stories said they came from a world so dangerous that everything on it tried to kill everything else. A world where the native creatures had to fight every day just to survive. But she had thought these were just stories. Captain Vexthor was no longer laughing. He had conquered many worlds, but he had never heard anyone speak with such quiet confidence. The human sounded like he was discussing the weather, not facing 12 warships. "You are one ship," Vexthor said, trying to regain his composure. "We are many. Simple mathematics, human." "You know what your problem is?" Morrison replied. "You think this is about numbers. It is not. This is about will. This is about who wants to win more. And trust me, Vorthon, you do not want this as much as I do." The Iron Wolf was closer now, and the Zephyrians could see it clearly through their windows. It did not look like much. Just a battered cargo ship with some extra equipment bolted to its hull. But something about the way it moved through space reminded Cathara of a hunting cat she had seen once in a nature documentary. Calm and patient, but ready to explode into violence. "This is your final warning," Morrison continued. "Release the Zephyrian ships and withdraw from this system. Do this now, and you can go home to tell your friends about the day you met a human, and live to talk about it." Vexthor's patience finally broke. "Destroy the human ship," he roared to his fleet. "Show this primitive what happens when someone challenges the Bloodfang." 2 of the Vorthon hunters turned toward the Iron Wolf, their weapons charging with deadly light. Energy cannons that could punch through a battleship's armor swiveled to target the small cargo vessel. But something strange happened. The Iron Wolf did not try to run. It did not try to hide. Instead, it began to change. Panels along the ship's hull slid open, revealing weapons that definitely did not belong on a cargo freighter. The ship's engine signature suddenly spiked, showing power levels that should have been impossible for a vessel that size. "What is that?" whispered Captain Yilneth. Ambassador Cathara stared at the transforming ship and finally understood. "It is not a cargo ship," she said quietly. "It was never a cargo ship." Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication channel one last time, and now it carried the promise of violence. "You had your chance, Vorthon. Now you get to learn why smart species do not pick fights with humans." The Iron Wolf shed its disguise completely, revealing itself as a warship built for one purpose: killing other ships efficiently and without mercy. And somewhere in the back of her mind, Ambassador Cathara remembered an old saying from human culture that someone had once translated for her: "Never corner something meaner than you are." The first Vorthon hunter ship fired its main cannon at the Iron Wolf. The energy beam was bright enough to blind anyone looking directly at it. It was the kind of weapon that could crack a moon in half. The beam shot across space toward the human ship. But the Iron Wolf was not there anymore. Captain Jake Morrison had thrown his ship into a spinning dive the moment he saw the Vorthon weapon charging. The energy beam passed through empty space, where his ship had been a second before. The Iron Wolf twisted and rolled like a living thing, moving in ways that should have torn it apart. "Impossible," Captain Vexthor snarled from his command chair. "No cargo ship can move like that." He was right. No cargo ship could move like that. But the Iron Wolf was not a cargo ship anymore. The fake hull panels had fallen away, showing the real ship underneath. It was lean and deadly, built for speed and killing. Every line of its design spoke of one purpose: war. Morrison's voice came over the communication channel, still calm despite the battle that had just begun. You gentlemen seem to have trouble hitting a moving target. Let me show you how it is. Done. The Iron Wolf spun around and fired back. But these were not the slow energy beams the Vorthons used. These were railguns, shooting metal slugs at incredible speed. The projectiles moved so fast they were invisible, striking the Vorthon ship before anyone could react. The hunter ship's shields flared and died. The metal slugs punched through the hull like paper, tearing into the ship's vital systems. Explosions bloomed along the vessel's length as power conduits overloaded and weapon systems failed. On the Star Whisper, Ambassador Cathara watched in amazement. "How is he doing this?" she whispered. Captain Yilnith was studying his sensor readings with wide eyes. "The human ship is using kinetic weapons, solid projectiles instead of energy beams. Our databases say this is a very old form of warfare." "Old, but effective," Cathara replied, watching the damaged Vorthon ship drift helplessly through space. The other Vorthon hunters were spreading out now, trying to surround the Iron Wolf. But Morrison was not playing their game. Instead of staying in one place like a normal ship would, he was using the debris from the battle to his advantage. The wreckage of the destroyed Zephyrian escort ship Moonbeam was floating nearby in a cloud of twisted metal. Morrison dove straight into this debris field, disappearing among the wreckage like a shark hiding in coral. "Where did he go?" demanded Vexthor. "Find him." The Vorthon sensors were having trouble tracking the human ship among all the metal debris. Their targeting systems kept locking onto pieces of wreckage instead of the real target. This was exactly what Morrison had planned. The Iron Wolf appeared suddenly from behind a large piece of debris already firing. Another Vorthon hunter took a full salvo of railgun shots to its engine section. The ship's reactor went critical, creating a ball of nuclear fire that lit up the entire system. 2 Vorthon ships destroyed in less than 5 minutes. The remaining hunters were beginning to understand that they were not fighting a normal enemy. Captain Vexthor was screaming orders at his remaining ships. "Concentrate fire. Box him in. Use the gravity mines." The Vorthons launched special weapons called gravity mines. These created small areas of twisted space that would crush any ship that came too close. They spread the mines around the battle zone, trying to limit where the Iron Wolf could go. But Morrison had fought against gravity mines before. He knew how they worked and how to avoid them. More importantly, he knew how to use them. The Iron Wolf came racing out of the debris field, heading straight for one of the gravity mines. The Vorthons thought he had made a mistake. They thought he was going to be crushed by his own reckless flying. At the last second, Morrison fired a spread of missiles at the mine. The explosions triggered the gravity weapon, but instead of crushing the Iron Wolf, the twisted space caught a Vorthon hunter that had been chasing him. The enemy ship was pulled into the gravity field and compressed into a ball of metal no bigger than a car. "This is impossible," Vexthor roared. "He is fighting like a madman." On the Iron Wolf's bridge, Morrison smiled grimly as he worked his controls. This was not madness. This was exactly how humans fought when they had to. They used everything around them as a weapon. They turned their enemies' strength against them. They did not follow the rules of civilized warfare because sometimes being civilized meant dying. Another Vorthon ship tried to ram the Iron Wolf, hoping to destroy both vessels in the collision. Morrison waited until the last possible moment, then fired his engines at full power. The Iron Wolf shot forward just as the Vorthon ship passed through the space where he had been. But Morrison had left a present behind. A single missile, launched at point-blank range, struck the Vorthon ship's hull. The explosion broke the vessel's back, sending both halves spinning away into space. 4 Vorthon ships destroyed. 8 remaining, but the Iron Wolf was not undamaged. Energy beams had scorched its hull. One of its railguns was offline. The ship's shields were failing. Morrison opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian convoy. "Ambassador Cathara, I need you to do something for me." "Anything, Captain Morrison," she replied immediately. "I need you to trust me, and I need your people to be ready to fight." Ambassador Cathara felt her heart sink. "Captain, my people are not warriors. We do not know how to fight." "You are about to learn," Morrison said grimly, "because the only way we all get out of this alive is if we work together. and I am going to teach you something the Vorthans do not understand. What is that? Desperate people are the most dangerous people in the galaxy. And right now, we are all very desperate. The Iron Wolf spun around and fired everything it had at the nearest Vorthan ship. Railguns, missiles, and energy weapons lit up space with deadly light. The Vorthan hunter exploded in a cascade of fire. 5 down, 7 to go, but Morrison was not done yet. He had one more trick to show the Vorthans, something that would teach them why humans were feared by those who knew them. He was going to show them what happened when you cornered something that had evolved to fight for its life every single day. All Vorthan ships, Morrison broadcast on all frequencies. You want to know what makes humans special? We do not know how to quit. We do not know how to surrender. And we definitely do not know how to lose. The Iron Wolf dove toward the center of the Vorthan formation, all weapons firing, ready to take as many enemies with it as possible. The real battle was just beginning. The Iron Wolf raced through the middle of the Vorthan formation with every weapon firing. Energy beams and railgun shots filled the space around it. Morrison was not trying to escape anymore. He was hunting. Another Vorthan ship tried to get behind him, but Morrison had anticipated this. He cut his engines and let momentum carry him forward while spinning his ship around. Now he was flying backward but still shooting forward. The surprised Vorthon pilot flew straight into Morrison's line of fire. The enemy ship's bridge exploded under the railgun barrage. Without anyone to pilot it, the vessel drifted helplessly through space, its crew dead or dying. 6 Vorthan ships destroyed. 6 remaining. Captain Vexthor was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. This human was not just lucky or reckless. He was a professional killer who knew exactly what he was doing. Every move was calculated. Every shot was placed with precision. All ships fall back and regroup, Vexthor ordered. Do not engage the human alone. But Morrison was not going to let them regroup. He opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian convoy, while dodging another volley of enemy fire. Ambassador Kithara, are you listening? Yes, Captain Morrison, came the reply from the Star Whisper. Good. I need you to do exactly what I tell you. Your ship still has power, right? Some power, yes, but our weapons are mostly offline. Forget the weapons, Morrison said as he rolled his ship under a Vorthan energy beam. We are going to turn your ship into something better than a weapon. Ambassador Kithara felt confused. I do not understand. Your ship has a reactor, correct? And you can overload it? Captain Yilnith spoke up from his position at the controls. Yes, but that would destroy the ship, and us with it. Not if you do it right, Morrison replied. Listen carefully. I am going to guide you through something called a controlled reactor breach. You are going to turn your ship into a bomb. The Zephyrian bridge fell silent. Ambassador Kithara felt her heart racing. Captain Morrison, we are not warriors. We cannot do this. Yes, you can, Morrison said firmly, because you are not doing this as warriors. You are doing this as people who want to go home, people who want to see their families again, people who refuse to let bullies win. While he spoke, Morrison was still fighting. The Iron Wolf twisted between 2 Vorthan ships, firing at both of them simultaneously. One ship lost its main gun, the other lost its engine. Here is what you do, Morrison continued, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. Yilnith, reroute all power to your main reactor. When I give the signal, shut down the containment field for exactly 3 seconds, then bring it back online. That will create a massive energy pulse, Yilnith said, understanding beginning to dawn on him. Exactly. Aim that pulse at the nearest Vorthan ship. The energy wave will fry their electronics and leave them helpless. Ambassador Kithara looked around her bridge at her crew. They were all looking back at her, waiting for her decision. These were not soldiers. They were diplomats and scientists and engineers. But they were also people who had families to protect. Do it, she ordered. Meanwhile, Morrison was putting on a display of flying that defied belief. He was using the gravity of nearby asteroids to slingshot his ship in impossible directions. He was using the exhaust from his own engines to blind enemy sensors. He was even using pieces of destroyed ships as shields. The Vorthons had never seen anything like it. They were trained to fight other civilized species who followed predictable patterns of warfare. But humans did not follow patterns. They adapted constantly, using anything and everything as a weapon. "Now, Ambassador," Morrison called out. On the Star Whisper, Captain Yilnith shut down the reactor containment field. Energy poured out of the ship in a brilliant wave of light. The pulse struck a nearby Vorthon hunter, overloading every electronic system on board. The enemy ship went dark, drifting helplessly through space. "It worked," Cathara gasped. "Good job," Morrison replied. "Now do it again. Target the ship on your left." As the Zephyrians prepared for another energy pulse, Morrison was dealing with his own problems. The remaining Vorthon ships were trying to box him in, using coordinated attacks to limit his movement. But Morrison had one more surprise for them. He began broadcasting on all Vorthon frequencies, filling their communication channels with noise. But it was not random noise. It was human music. Specifically, it was the war songs that human soldiers had sung for thousands of years. The effect on the Vorthons was immediate and terrifying. The music was wild and primal, full of drums and shouting voices. It spoke of battles fought in dark, places of warriors who would rather die than surrender. It was the sound of a species that had clawed its way to the top of the food chain on a world that tried to kill everything. Captain Vexthor tried to shut off his communication system, but Morrison had jammed the controls. The human war songs filled the bridge of every Vorthon ship, getting into the minds of warriors who had thought they knew what fear was. "What is this noise?" demanded one of Vexthor's officers. "It is psychological warfare," Vexthor replied, but his voice was shaking. "The human is trying to break our spirits." And it was working. The Vorthon pilots were making mistakes, hesitating at crucial moments. The music was reminding them of every story they had ever heard about humans. Stories about a species that came from a death world. Stories about creatures that fought their own planet for millions of years and won. Morrison used their confusion to his advantage. The Iron Wolf struck like lightning, destroying another crippled Vorthon ship with a perfectly placed missile strike. 7 ships destroyed. 5 remaining. The Star Whisper fired another energy pulse, disabling a second Vorthon hunter. Now there were only 4 enemy ships left that could still fight. "Captain Morrison," Ambassador Cathara called over the communication system. "What do we do now?" Morrison's reply was grim, but determined. "Now we finish this, and we make sure the survivors remember what happens when you attack peaceful people." The Iron Wolf turned toward the remaining Vorthon ships, all weapons ready. But Morrison was not done teaching lessons yet. He was about to show them the most important thing about humans. They never gave up. No matter how bad things looked, no matter how many enemies they faced, humans kept fighting until the very end. And sometimes, just sometimes, that was enough to win. The final phase of the battle was about to begin. The 4 remaining Vorthon ships pulled back to form a defensive line. Captain Vexthor was no longer thinking about conquest or glory. He was thinking about survival. Half of his fleet was destroyed or disabled by a single human and some peaceful aliens who had learned to fight in the space of minutes. "All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel," Vexthor ordered. "Ignore the Zephyrians, the human is the real threat." But Morrison was not going to make it easy for them. The Iron Wolf was darting between the disabled Vorthon ships, using them as cover. Every time the enemy tried to get a clear shot, Morrison would duck behind another piece of wreckage. "You cannot hide forever, human," Vexthor broadcast on all frequencies. Morrison's reply came back immediately, and there was something like laughter in his voice. "Who says I am hiding? I am hunting." The Iron Wolf suddenly shot out from behind a drifting Vorthon hulk, all weapons firing. But instead of targeting the ships, Morrison was aiming at something else. His railgun struck the reactor of one of the disabled Vorthon vessels. The explosion was enormous. The chain reaction tore through the ship's hull and spread to 2 other nearby wrecks. In seconds, the space between the Iron Wolf and the remaining Vorthon ships was filled with expanding balls of nuclear fire. When the light faded, Morrison was gone again. But now the Vorthons were blind, their sensors overloaded by the radiation from the explosions. "Where is he?" Vexthor demanded. The answer came in the form of missiles striking his ship from below. Morrison had used the explosion as cover to get underneath the Vorthan formation. Now he was attacking from an angle they had not expected. The Bloodfang shuddered under the impact, but its heavy armor held. Vexthor smiled grimly. His flagship was the strongest ship in the fleet. It would take more than a few missiles to destroy it, but Morrison was not trying to destroy the Bloodfang yet. He had other plans. Ambassador Kethera, Morrison called over the communication system. I need you to do one more thing for me. What is it, Captain? Came the reply from the Star Whisper. Take your ship and ram the Vorthan vessel on the right, full speed. There was silence on the communication channel. Then Ambassador Kethera spoke, her voice steady despite the fear she must have been feeling. Captain Morrison, that will destroy our ship. We will all die. No, you will not, Morrison replied. Trust me. I have a plan. Captain Yilnith spoke up from his position at the controls. Ambassador, our ship is not built for ramming attacks. We are not warriors. Today you are, Morrison said firmly. Today you are people who refuse to be victims. Today you are heroes. Ambassador. Kethera looked around her bridge one more time. Her crew was looking back at her with fear and determination in their eyes. They were diplomats and scientists, but they were also people who wanted to go home. Do it, she ordered. The Star Whisper turned toward the nearest Vorthan ship and began to accelerate. The enemy vessel saw them coming and tried to move away, but it was too damaged to maneuver quickly. Just before the collision, Morrison struck. The Iron Wolf appeared from nowhere, firing everything it had at the space between the two ships. The explosion threw both vessels off course, but the Star Whisper still struck the Vorthan ship a glancing blow. The impact tore through both hulls, but Morrison had calculated it perfectly. The Zephyrian ship was damaged, but not destroyed. The Gari Vorthan ship was not so lucky. The collision had ruptured its main reactor. The enemy vessel exploded in a ball of fire, taking another ship with it. 2 more Vorthan ships destroyed. Only 2 left. But Captain Vexthor was not finished yet. Seeing his fleet destroyed around him had driven him into a rage. The Bloodfang turned toward the damaged Star Whisper, preparing to ram the Zephyrian ship and destroy it completely. If I am going to die, Vexthor snarled, I will take some of you with me. The massive Vorthan flagship accelerated toward the helpless Zephyrian vessel. Ambassador Kethera watched death approaching through her bridge windows and felt strangely calm. She had done her duty. She had fought back against the bullies. But Morrison was not going to let her die. The Iron Wolf threw itself between the 2 ships, taking the full force of the collision. The impact nearly tore the human vessel in half, but Morrison had one last surprise. As the ships crashed together, he triggered every explosive device on his ship. The combined explosion destroyed both the Iron Wolf and the Bloodfang in a burst of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. Captain Vexthor and his flagship were gone, turned to atoms in the cold of space. Ambassador Kethera stared at the expanding cloud of debris where the brave human had sacrificed himself to save her people. Tears ran down her face as she realized that Jake Morrison was dead. But then her communication officer called out in excitement. Ambassador, I am receiving a signal. From where? She asked. From an escape pod. Someone survived the explosion. A small pod was drifting away from the wreckage, its emergency beacon flashing. Ambassador Kethera smiled through her tears as Morrison's voice came over the communication system. This is Captain Morrison. Sorry about the fireworks, but that seemed like the best way to deal with the situation. Anyone need a ride home? The last 2 Vorthan ships, seeing their commander dead and their fleet destroyed, turned and fled into deep space. They would carry word of this battle back to their empire. They would tell stories about the day a single human and some peaceful aliens destroyed an entire hunter fleet. As rescue ships arrived to help the survivors, Ambassador Kethera spoke privately with Morrison over a secure channel. Captain, how can we ever thank you? She asked. You do not need to thank me, Morrison replied. You just need to remember something. Bullies only win when good people do nothing. Today you proved that even peaceful people can fight when they have to. Will we see you again? Kethera asked. Morrison was quiet for a moment. Maybe. The galaxy is a big place, but it is also getting smaller. Humans are spreading out, exploring new worlds, meeting new people. Some of us are traders, some are explorers, and some of us are people like me. What kind of person are you, Captain Morrison? I am the kind of person who shows up when someone calls for help. I am the kind of person who believes that bullies should not be allowed to win. And I am the kind of person who will always answer a distress call no matter how dangerous it might be. Morrison paused, then continued. Tell your people something for me, Ambassador. Tell them that humans do not abandon their friends. Tell them that if they ever need help again, all they have to do is call. We will come. As the rescue fleet escorted the survivors to safety, word of the battle began to spread throughout the galaxy. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. A single human had appeared when peaceful aliens were in danger. He had fought impossible, odds and one. He had taught the victims to fight back against their oppressors. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, other humans were listening to the story and nodding in approval. The galaxy was about to learn what Earth had known for millions of years. Never pick a fight with something that evolved to survive on a death world. And never, ever threaten someone a human has decided to protect. The message had been sent. The response was coming. Captain Lisa Howard sat at the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, her eyes fixed on the display screen. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. It was her 5th year as captain, and most days were routine. Tracking satellites, coordinating with Mars Colony, running drills. But today was different. Captain, we're picking up an unusual signal, said Officer Paul Baker, his voice breaking. The silence. It's coming from beyond Neptune's orbit. Lisa stood up and walked to his station. Show me. The pattern on the screen pulsed rhythmically. Not random, definitely not natural. How long has it been broadcasting, she asked. First detected 18 minutes ago, it's getting stronger. Lisa touched her communication badge. Get me Admiral Morrison and Dr. Freeman, now. Within an hour, Earth Defense Fleet Headquarters was buzzing with activity. Admiral Kate Morrison, a tall woman with gray-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing, stood at the head of the conference table. The signal is definitely artificial, said Dr. Alan Freeman, chief scientist of the Earth Defense Initiative. He was in his 50s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. And it's not using any known human communication protocol. Are you saying what I think you're saying, Doctor? Asked Admiral Morrison. Dr. Freeman nodded. Yes, we are not alone. And whoever they are, they're coming our way. Lisa studied the trajectory map. Based on their speed and direction, they'll reach Earth orbit in 7 days. Admiral Morrison turned to Commander John Clark, Earth's top diplomat. John, we need first contact protocols ready immediately. Commander Clark nodded. He was younger than the others, only 40, but had proven himself brilliant at negotiation during the Mars colony disputes. I'll prepare multiple approaches. And if they're not friendly? Lisa asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. Admiral Morrison's face hardened. Then we activate Protocol Sentinel. The room went quiet. Protocol Sentinel was classified at the highest level. Only those in this room knew of its existence. A defense system developed after Earth scientists discovered evidence of previous alien visitations in ancient ruins. For the next 3 days, Earth's defense forces went on high, alert while trying to maintain public calm. Then, the incoming vessels became visible through the deep space telescopes. My God, whispered Lisa as the images appeared on screen. They're massive. 7 ships, each larger than anything humans had built, moved in perfect formation. Their design was unlike anything in Earth's records, angular with strange protrusions that glowed purple against the blackness of space. Dr. Freeman analyzed the data coming in. They're using some kind of propulsion system I've never seen before, and their energy readings are off the charts. Can we communicate with them? Admiral Morrison asked. We've been broadcasting welcome messages in all formats, Commander Clark replied. Nothing back yet. Then, on the fourth day, the response came. "Incoming transmission," Officer Baker announced. It's in English." The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Skin a pale blue with ridges where eyebrows would be, and eyes that were entirely black. "People of Earth," the alien spoke, its mouth moving strangely around the words. "I am High Commander Krell of the Nigma Empire. We have studied your transmissions and learned your primary languages. We come seeking resources." Commander Clark stepped forward. "Hi, Commander Krell. I am Commander John Clark of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization and would be happy to discuss trade." The alien interrupted with what sounded like a laugh. "Trade? You misunderstand. The Nigma Empire does not trade. We take what we need from lesser civilizations." Admiral Morrison joined Clark. "With respect, High Commander, Earth is not a lesser civilization. We suggest you reconsider your approach." Krell's expression didn't change. "Your species has barely left its own solar system. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are insufficient. We will begin harvesting operations in your oceans and mining facilities within 3 of your Earth days." The transmission ended abruptly. The room erupted in urgent conversation until Admiral Morrison slammed her hand on the table. "Enough. We knew this day might come. Now we prepare." She turned to Lisa. "Captain Howard, ready the fleet. All ships, on combat footing." To Dr. Freeman. "Doctor, is the Sunburst operational?" Dr. Freeman hesitated. "Theoretically, yes. But we've never tested it at full capacity. The electromagnetic pulse it generates could have unpredictable effects." "Then predict them," Admiral Morrison said firmly. "We need options." As everyone rushed to their stations, Commander Clark stayed behind. "Kate, we need to try diplomacy, one more time. If their technology is as advanced as it seems, a war could devastate Earth." Admiral Morrison nodded. "I agree. But we negotiate from strength, not weakness." She turned to Lisa. "Captain Howard, prepare the EDS Defender for a diplomatic mission. Commander Clark will represent Earth, but I want the Nigma to see we're not defenseless." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Earth's leaders were briefed, military forces worldwide placed on alert, and key civilian population centers prepared for possible evacuation. Dr. Freeman worked tirelessly in his lab, studying the Nigma ships from afar. Late that night, he called Lisa to his lab. "I found something," he said, excitement in his voice. "Look at these energy readings from the Nigma ships." Lisa studied the data. "They spike every 14 minutes. "Exactly. It's their shield harmonics. They're vulnerable at those moments, specifically to a very precise electromagnetic frequency." He showed her his calculations. "If we can hit them with the sunburst during that window." Lisa immediately contacted Admiral Morrison. By dawn, they had a plan. The EDS Defender, Earth's newest and most advanced warship, would approach the Nigma fleet in a show of diplomatic engagement. Commander Clark would attempt negotiation while Captain Howard and her crew gathered more data on the Nigma vulnerabilities. As Lisa prepared to board her ship, Admiral Morrison took her aside. "Lisa, if diplomacy fails, you're authorized to test Freeman's theory, a targeted sunburst pulse on their smallest vessel. Nothing lethal, just enough to show them we can hurt them." Lisa nodded, understanding the weight of her mission. "And if they attack first?" Admiral Morrison's eyes were steel. "Then you show them why Earth was worth avoiding." As the EDS Defender launched toward the waiting Nigma fleet, Lisa felt calm despite the tension. Earth had faced challenges before: climate disaster, resource wars, the Mars Rebellion. Each time humanity had adapted and grown stronger. The Nigma Empire thought Earth was primitive and defenseless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The EDS Defender moved through the darkness of space toward the waiting Nigma fleet. Captain Lisa Howard stood on the bridge, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the control panels. The massive alien ships loomed ahead, their strange purple lights pulsing in the distance. "We're entering communication range," Officer Paul Baker announced. "Nigma vessels are tracking us but not moving to intercept." Lisa nodded. Open a channel. Commander John Clark stepped forward. His diplomatic uniform was crisp, his expression calm despite the tension everyone felt. This is Commander John Clark of Earth. We approach in peace to discuss the future relationship between our civilizations. The main screen flickered, and High Commander Krell's blue face appeared. Those black eyes showed no emotion as he regarded the humans. Your approach is noted. You may dock with our command vessel for discussions. Bring no more than 3 representatives. The transmission cut off abruptly. I don't like this, Lisa said quietly to John. It feels like a trap. John adjusted his collar. Probably is, but we need to buy time for Dr. Freeman to finish his work on the sunburst. Lisa turned to her security chief, Lieutenant Sam Wilson. Prepare a team, full combat gear, but keep it concealed. We're not starting a fight, but we'll be ready if one finds us. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison watched the situation unfold from Defense Command. Beside her, Dr. Freeman worked frantically at his console. The sunburst calibrations are almost complete, he said, not looking up from his work. But there's something strange about the Enigma ships. They all pulse with energy at exactly the same moment. What does that mean? Asked Admiral Morrison. Doctor. Freeman pushed his glasses up. I think they're linked somehow, like they share a single power source or control system. Is that important? It could be. If we target one ship with the sunburst, it might affect all of them. Or none of them. He frowned. I need more data. Admiral Morrison tapped her communication badge. Captain Howard, change of plans. We need detailed energy readings from inside their command ship. Plant these sensor devices discreetly during your meeting. Aboard the Defender, Lisa received the new instructions. She briefed John and their team quickly before they boarded the shuttle. Remember, she said, we're here to talk, but be alert and find opportunities to place these sensors. The shuttle approached the enormous Enigma command ship. Up close, it was even more alien. The hull material seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, yet was clearly solid. A bay opened, swallowing their small craft. When they stepped out, 2 Enigma guards waited. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with the same blue skin as Krell, but more heavily armored. Follow, one said simply. The humans were led through corridors that seemed to breathe. The walls pulsed with the same purple energy they had seen from a distance. At regular points, Lisa signaled her team to discreetly place the tiny sensors. Finally, they reached what appeared to be a command center. High Commander Krell sat on an elevated platform, looking down at them with what seemed like amusement. Commander Clark, he said. You wish to discuss terms? John stepped forward confidently. Yes. Earth is willing to establish peaceful relations with the Enigma Empire. We can discuss limited resource sharing that would benefit both our peoples. Krell made the sound they now recognized as laughter. You misunderstand your position. We don't seek permission. The resources of your planet are exactly what we need to refuel our fleet. What resources, specifically? Lisa asked, trying to gain information. Your oceans contain abundant hydrogen. Your mines hold rare metals we require. Your population will provide labor. Krell leaned forward. This process has worked on 17 other worlds. Resistance only increases suffering. John tried again. High Commander, Earth is not defenseless. We have technology that... We have studied your capabilities. Krell interrupted. Your weapons are primitive. Your defense is inadequate. To demonstrate, he touched a control panel. A screen showed a small Earth outpost on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. Watch, he said. A beam of purple energy shot from one of the Enigma ships. The outpost exploded in flames. That was just a small outpost with 28 of your people, Krell said. Tomorrow we begin harvesting operations on your moon. Each day after Earth itself. Lisa felt cold fury rise inside her but kept her face neutral. What Krell didn't know was that Earth intelligence had predicted this move. The outpost had been evacuated hours ago, a fact they had kept secret. We understand. Your message, John said carefully. We request 12 hours to inform our leaders and prepare our people. Krell waved a dismissive hand. Granted, it makes no difference. As they were escorted back to their shuttle, Lisa activated her hidden communicator. "Admiral, did you get all that?" Every word, came Admiral Morrison's voice. "And the sensors are working perfectly. Return immediately. It's time for Plan B." Back on the Defender, Lisa gathered her crew. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. Once they were safely away from the Nigma fleet, she opened a channel to Earth, Defense Command. The main screen showed Admiral Morrison with Dr. Freeman beside her. "The outpost was empty just as we predicted," Lisa reported. "But they're not bluffing about their intentions." Dr. Freeman stepped forward. "Captain, the sensor data you collected is invaluable. The Nigma ships are indeed connected through some kind of quantum entanglement, and I've confirmed their vulnerability to our electromagnetic pulse technology." Admiral Morrison's expression was grim. "Then we proceed with the warning demonstration. Captain Howard, once you're back in Earth orbit, prepare the Sunburst for deployment against their smallest vessel." "What about diplomatic options?" asked Commander Clark. "We're past that point," Admiral Morrison replied. "But we're not starting a war yet. This is a demonstration, a warning they can't ignore." 6 hours later, the EDS Defender rejoined Earth's defense fleet in high orbit. Dr. Freeman transmitted the final calibrations for the Sunburst device. "Remember," he said over the comm, "target only their scout ship. The pulse needs to be precisely timed to hit during their shield's harmonic cycle." Lisa nodded to her weapons officer. "Program the targeting sequence. We'll give them one last chance." She opened a channel to the Nigma fleet. High Commander Krell appeared on screen, looking annoyed at the interruption. "The Nigma Empire has 24 hours to withdraw from our solar system," Lisa stated firmly. "Earth will not surrender its resources. We possess technology capable of neutralizing your fleet. This is not a threat, but a warning." Krell's black eyes narrowed. "Your arrogance is noted, human. Perhaps we should move up our timetable." "Perhaps you should heed our warning," Lisa replied. "We would prefer peace, but we are prepared for the alternative." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "They won't listen. Prepare to demonstrate exactly how primitive Earth technology can be." The bridge of the EDS Defender was silent as Captain Lisa Howard watched the countdown timer. In 20 minutes, they would demonstrate Earth's power to the Nigma fleet. She hoped it would be enough to make them leave without further conflict. "Any response to our warning?" she asked Officer Baker. "Nothing official," he replied. "But 3 of their smaller ships have moved to protective positions around their command vessel." Lisa nodded. "They're preparing for an attack, but don't believe we can hurt them." The ship's communication system chimed. "Captain, Admiral Morrison is calling." The main screen showed the Admiral's face. She looked tired but determined. "Captain Howard, is the Sunburst ready?" "Yes, Admiral. Target locked on their smallest scout ship. Dr. Freeman's calculations show their shield harmonics will be at their weakest point in 18 minutes. "Good." The Admiral paused. "Lisa, there's something you should know. Our long-range sensors have detected more Nigma ships at the edge of our solar system. If we can't convince this fleet to leave, we could be facing an even larger force." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. All the more reason to make this demonstration count. On Earth, Dr. Freeman was making final adjustments to the Sunburst targeting system. His assistant, young scientist Olivia Garcia, watched nervously. "Will this really work?" she asked. "The Nigma ships are so advanced." Dr. Freeman looked up from his calculations. "Sometimes the most advanced technology has the simplest weaknesses. Their ships are powerful, yes, but they rely on energy harmonics that make them vulnerable to precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses." He pointed to a diagram on his screen. "See these energy patterns? All their ships pulse at exactly the same frequency. It's efficient, but creates a shared vulnerability. Like how a strong wind can topple a perfectly balanced stack of cards," Olivia said. Dr. Freeman smiled. "Exactly. Now let's hope our wind is strong enough." Back on the Defender, Lisa received the final targeting data from Earth. She turned to her weapons officer. "Lock in these coordinates. Remember, we want to disable, not destroy." "Understood, Captain." targeting their scout vessel only. Lisa opened a channel to the Nigma fleet. "Hi, Commander Krell. This is your final warning. Our demonstration will occur in 10 minutes. We have targeted your smallest vessel with non-lethal force. After you witness our capability, we ask that you reconsider your position." The screen remained dark for several seconds before Krell's face appeared. "Your persistence is becoming irritating, human. Perhaps when we begin harvesting operations on your planet, we will start with your military installations." Lisa kept her voice calm. "Then observe carefully, Commander." As the countdown reached 2 minutes, Lisa ordered her crew to battle stations. "All hands, secure for electromagnetic pulse deployment. Communications might be disrupted temporarily. Eddie?" Exactly the designated time, Lisa gave the order. Fire sunburst. There was no visible beam, no explosion, nothing to see with the naked eye. For a moment, Lisa feared it hadn't worked. Then Officer Baker called out, "Direct hit! Their scout ships' systems are powering down. Life support appears functional, but propulsion, weapons, and communications are offline." The bridge crew watched in silence as the small Nigma vessel drifted, its purple lights flickering and then going dark. "Get me Krell," Lisa ordered. When the Nigma commander appeared on screen, his black eyes were wide with something that looked like surprise. "As you can see," Lisa said, "we possess technology that can neutralize your ships without harming your crew. That was at minimal power and targeted only at your smallest vessel. We have the capability to expand this effect to your entire fleet." For the first time, Krell seemed to consider his words carefully. "This technology is unexpected. We tried. To tell you Earth is not defenseless," Lisa continued. "We are allowing you to retrieve your disabled ship and its crew. After that, you have 23 hours to leave our solar system." Krell's face showed conflict. "The Nigma Empire does not retreat." "Then the Nigma Empire has never faced Earth," Lisa replied. "The choice is yours." The transmission ended. Lisa turned to her communications officer. "Send all data back to Earth Command. I want Admiral Morrison to see exactly what happened." On Earth, Dr. Freeman studied the results with growing excitement. It worked perfectly. Their systems shut down exactly as predicted. Admiral Morrison nodded. "But will it be enough to convince them to leave?" "If not," Dr. Freeman said quietly, "we can increase the power. Target more ships at once." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," the Admiral replied. Hours passed. The Nigma dispatched a larger vessel to tow their disabled scout ship. Earth's defense forces remained on high alert. Commander John Clark prepared multiple diplomatic messages, ready to open negotiations if the Nigma showed any sign of reconsidering. But as the deadline approached, Nigma activity increased. Their ships began moving into attack formation. "They're not backing down," Lisa told Admiral Morrison. "If anything, they seem more determined." The Admiral's face was grim. "Krell's pride won't let him retreat. Prepare for full deployment of the Sunburst," Dr. Freeman cut in. "Admiral, I need to speak with you, privately." When the others had left the room, Dr. Freeman showed the Admiral his latest findings. "The quantum link between Nigma ships is more complex than we thought. If we deploy the Sunburst at full power against multiple ships, the feedback could cascade through their entire fleet." "Isn't that what we want?" the Admiral asked. "Yes, but," Dr. Freeman hesitated. "The data suggests their home planet might be connected to the same network. Their entire civilization could be linked to these ships." Admiral Morrison understood immediately. "You're saying we could affect their home world? How badly?" "I don't know. The pulse would travel through subspace, growing stronger as it goes. Their planet could lose power, communications, defenses, or worse." The Admiral finished for him. Dr. Freeman nodded grimly. "We need to warn them of this possibility." Admiral Morrison sat heavily in her chair. "Open a channel to the Defender. Captain Howard needs this information immediately." On the Defender, Lisa listened to Dr. Freeman's explanation with growing concern. "Can we adjust the Sunburst to prevent this cascade effect?" "Not without significantly reducing its effectiveness," Dr. Freeman replied. "It's all or nothing." Lisa looked at Commander Clark. We have to try one more time to convince them. She opened a channel to High Commander Krell. This time he answered immediately, his expression cold. Your deadline approaches, human. The Nigma Empire will not be intimidated by your tricks. This isn't about intimidation, Lisa said urgently. We've discovered that using our technology against your fleet could have unintended consequences for your homeworld. Your quantum network, Krell cut her off. More deception. Our homeworld is beyond your reach, protected by technology you cannot comprehend. Please, Lisa tried again. We don't want to destroy you. We just want you to leave our system. Enough, Krell shouted. The Nigma do not retreat. We do not negotiate. Prepare to be conquered. The transmission ended. Lisa looked at her bridge. Crew, determination in her eyes. Alert Earth Command. The Nigma fleet is preparing to attack. We have no choice now but to defend ourselves. The Nigma attack began without warning. Purple energy beams shot from their largest vessels, targeting Earth's orbital defense platforms. 2 platforms exploded instantly, sending debris spinning through space. Captain Lisa Howard gripped her command chair as the EDS Defender shook from a near miss. All ships evasive maneuvers. Return fire only on my command. Earth's defense fleet scattered using the tactics they had practiced for years. Small, fast ships darted between the massive Nigma vessels, too quick to target effectively. Admiral, Kate Morrison watched from Earth Command, her face tense. Status report. 2 platforms destroyed. The moon base reports minor damage. No casualties yet, reported her aide. Dr. Alan Freeman worked frantically at his console. The Nigma are using less than half their weapons capability. They're still not taking us seriously. That's their mistake, Admiral Morrison said. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Admiral Morrison. Implement defense pattern Omega. Captain Howard, you have command of the fleet. On the Defender, Lisa acknowledged the order. All ships form up on my position. Prepare to engage. The Earth ships moved with perfect coordination, forming a complex pattern that confused the Nigma targeting systems. The smaller, faster Earth vessels drew fire while the larger ones moved into position. High Commander Krell watched from his command ship, growing increasingly frustrated. Why can't you hit them? They're primitive vessels. His weapons officer looked nervous. Their movement patterns are unpredictable, and our sensors are having trouble locking on. Impossible! Krell slammed his fist down. Move us closer. Use all weapons. The Nigma command ship surged forward, its massive weapons charging. The purple glow around it intensified. On the Defender, Officer Baker shouted, Captain, their command. Ship is powering up all weapon systems. Energy readings are off the chart. Lisa saw her opportunity. Now, all ships target the command ship's propulsion systems. 20 Earth vessels fired simultaneously. The barrage wasn't enough to penetrate the Nigma shields, but it forced them to divert power from weapons to defense. Lisa opened a channel to Earth. Admiral, they've committed their flagship. Dr. Freeman, are the sunburst modifications ready? Dr. Freeman looked up from his work, his face grave. Yes, but Captain, I need to be clear about this. If we deploy the sunburst at full power against their command ship, the Quantum Cascade will almost certainly reach their home world. What exactly will happen? Lisa asked. Best case? Their planet loses power temporarily. Worst case? Dr. Freeman hesitated. Total systems failure on a planetary scale. Life support, atmosphere generation, everything. Admiral Morrison joined the conversation. Captain Howard, we need to try one more time. Hail the Nigma command ship. Lisa nodded to her communications. Officer. After several tense moments, Krell appeared on screen. His blue face was twisted with rage. You dare to attack the Nigma Empire? Your planet will be stripped bare for this offense. Admiral Morrison stepped into view beside Lisa. Hi, Commander Krell. Listen carefully. Our scientists have confirmed that your fleet's quantum link extends to your homeworld. If we are forced to use our full defensive capabilities against your command ship, the feedback will travel through subspace to your planet. For a moment, something like uncertainty crossed Krell's face. Then he laughed. Another bluff. Our homeworld is protected by technology beyond your comprehension. Enigma officer approached Krell, speaking quietly. Krell pushed him away angrily. Dr. Freeman leaned in. That officer knows I'm right. Their scientists must have realized the danger. Lisa tried one last time. Commander Krell, we don't want to destroy your civilization. Please, withdraw your fleet now. The Enigma do not withdraw, Krell shouted. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. Earth will be no different. The transmission cut off abruptly. Admiral Morrison's expression hardened. We've done everything possible to avoid this. They leave us no choice. She straightened her uniform. Captain Howard, you are authorized to deploy the Sunburst at full capacity. Lisa nodded solemnly. Understood, Admiral. She turned to her. Weapons officer, target their command ship, wait for my order. As the Earth fleet continued its defensive pattern, Lisa opened a private channel to Dr. Freeman. Doctor, is there any way to minimize the damage to their homeworld? Dr. Freeman's voice was heavy. If we time the pulse to hit during their shield's weakest moment, it might reduce the cascade effect, but I can't guarantee anything. Do it, Lisa said. Send the timing calculations to all ships. The battle intensified. 2 more Earth vessels were hit, their crews ejecting in escape pods. The Enigma pressed their attack, confident in their superior firepower. Sunburst ready, reported the weapons officer. Optimal firing window in 30 seconds. Lisa opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships prepare to deploy Sunburst on my mark. Target the command ship only. The seconds counted down. Lisa thought of all the attempts they had made to avoid this moment. The warnings, the demonstrations, the pleas for peace. Firing window in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lisa took a deep breath. Fire. Every Earth vessel released its Sunburst pulse simultaneously. The combined electromagnetic wave hit the Enigma command ship at precisely the moment its shields cycled. For a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the purple lights on the command ship flickered. The massive vessel stopped moving. Direct hit, Officer Baker reported. Their systems are shutting down. But the effect didn't stop there. Like a wave rippling outward, the pulse spread to the nearby Enigma ships. One by one, their lights flickered and died. It's working, someone shouted. Lisa felt no triumph, only grim satisfaction that Earth would survive, mixed with deep concern for what might be happening light years away. Maintain defensive positions, she ordered, and prepare rescue operations for the Enigma crews. On Earth, Dr. Freeman watched his instruments with growing alarm. The cascade effect is stronger than I predicted. The quantum link is carrying the pulse through subspace, gaining strength as it travels. Admiral Morrison stood beside him. How long until it reaches their homeworld? At subspace speeds, 3 days, maybe less. Is there anything we can do to stop it? Dr. Freeman shook his head slowly. No. The pulse is self-sustaining now. All we can do is hope their planetary defenses are as strong as Krell believed. In space, Lisa directed the rescue of Enigma crew members from their disabled vessels. Most were confused, some hostile, but a few seemed almost relieved. One Enigma officer, who identified himself as Science Director Maul, asked to speak with Earth's leaders. His face was grim as he was brought before Lisa and Commander Clark. Your warning was correct, he said quietly. Our ships are quantum-linked to our planetary systems. Our homeworld is in grave danger. Commander Clark leaned forward. Is there anything we can do? Maul looked down. No. High Commander Krell knew this. Our scientists tried to tell him, but he wouldn't listen. Pride has always been the Enigma's greatest weakness. Lisa felt a chill. What will happen to your planet? Our world is dying, Maul explained. We depleted our resources centuries ago. Now it survives only through artificial means. Atmosphere, generators, temperature regulators, power distribution systems. If those fail, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. 3 days later, Earth's long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge in the Andromeda galaxy. The Enigma homeworld systems had failed catastrophically. As the disabled Enigma fleet orbited Earth, their crews learned the truth. Their home was gone, their empire had fallen, all because they wouldn't listen to a warning from a primitive species. 6 months after the battle, the Earth Defense Council met in their rebuilt headquarters. The room was solemn as Admiral Kate Morrison stood to address the gathered leaders. "Today marks half a year since the Nigma conflict ended," she began. "The rebuilding of our orbital platforms is complete. The moon base is fully operational again. But we are not here to discuss our recovery. We are here to decide the fate of our guests." All eyes turned to Science Director Mal, who sat quietly at one end of the table. He was one of 4,000 Nigma survivors now living in a settlement on Earth's northern plains. "Director Mal," Admiral Morrison continued, "please share your report." Mal stood, his blue skin now familiar to everyone present. "Thank you, Admiral. The news from our scout ships is final. Our homeworld is gone. The atmospheric generators failed completely. The surface is now uninhabitable. The 12 colony worlds of the Nigma Empire have declared independence. Our civilization as we knew it has ended." Commander John Clark broke the silence that followed. "And High Commander Krell?" "He refuses to speak," Mal replied. "He sits in his quarters at the settlement and sees no one. The weight of his pride has crushed him." Captain Lisa Howard entered the room, nodding to Admiral Morrison before taking her seat. She had spent the past months working closely with the Nigma survivors, learning their language and customs. "The remaining Nigma have requested permanent asylum on Earth," she reported. "Most have skills that could be valuable to us: engineers, scientists, medical workers. They understand they would live under Earth laws." Dr. Alan Freeman added, "Their technology, what we've been able to salvage from their ships, is remarkable. Their energy systems alone could advance our capabilities by decades." Admiral Morrison nodded. "That brings us to our decision. Do we accept these people as refugees and integrate them into Earth society?" The debate lasted hours. Some council members feared hidden revenge plots. Others worried about cultural conflicts. A few raised concerns about resources. Finally, Lisa stood again. "May I speak freely?" Admiral Morrison nodded. "The Nigma Empire made a terrible mistake. They ignored our warnings out of pride and arrogance. But those before us now are not the ones who made that decision. They are survivors just as we would be if our positions were reversed." She paused. "Moreover, they have learned what we tried to teach them. That strength without wisdom leads to destruction." The room was quiet as her words sank in. "I recommend we accept their request for asylum," she finished. "Not just because it's the compassionate choice, but because it's the wise one." The vote was unanimous. Earth would welcome the Nigma refugees. 1 week later, Lisa visited the Nigma settlement. The survivors had built simple structures that resembled their architectural style, with curved walls and doors that slid upward. Children played in a central area, already adapting to Earth's gravity and sunlight. Mal greeted her at the entrance. "Captain Howard, welcome. Our people have received the news of your council's decision. We are grateful." "It was the right thing to do," Lisa replied simply. As they walked through the settlement, Mal gestured to various buildings. "We have established our first school here. Many of our young ones never saw our home world. Earth will be the only home they know." He led her to a workshop where Nigma engineers worked alongside humans from Dr. Freeman's team. "We are teaching your scientists about our energy systems, as promised. In return, they help us understand Earth's ecosystem." "And how are your people adjusting?" Lisa asked. "Better than expected. The hardest part is accepting that our empire is gone. For centuries, we defined ourselves by conquest and power. Now we must find a new identity." They stopped at a small building separated from the others. "Krell is in there," Mal said quietly. "He has asked to see you." Lisa was surprised. "Me? Why?" He did not say. But this is the first time he has asked. "For anyone?" Lisa nodded and entered alone. The room was dimly lit, furnished only with a bed and chair. High Commander Krell sat by a small window, looking older and diminished without his grand uniform. "Captain Howard," he said without turning, "the human who warned us." "Commander Krell," she acknowledged. "Not Commander anymore. Just Krell now." He finally looked at her. I have had much time to think. About pride, about listening, about consequences. Lisa remained silent, waiting. You tried to warn us. 3 times. My scientists tried to warn me. I refused to listen. His black eyes fixed on hers. Why? Why did you try so hard to prevent our destruction? We came to take your world. Lisa considered her answer carefully. Because that's the difference between your empire and Earth. You conquered. We connect. You took, we trade, you commanded, we cooperate. She moved closer. Strength isn't just about power, Krell. It's about wisdom. Knowing when to fight and when to talk. Knowing when to stand firm and when to bend. Krell looked away. Lessons learned too late. Maybe not, Lisa said. Your people have a chance to build something new here. Not an empire, but a community. Not subjects, but citizens. And me? What place is there for the one who destroyed everything? That depends on you, Lisa replied. You can hide away with your regrets, or you can help your people adapt, share your knowledge, learn from your mistakes. She turned to leave, then paused. The choice is yours, just like it was before. 2 years later, Earth had changed. Nigma technology had revolutionized energy production and space travel. The first joint human Nigma colony was established on Mars, with more planned for Europa and beyond. At the Earth Defense Academy graduation ceremony, Admiral Morrison introduced the keynote speaker. Students, it is my honor to present Professor Krell, Chair of Interspecies Relations. Krell walked to the podium, now dressed in Earth academic robes. The audience of young cadets watched with interest as the former conqueror addressed them. Future. Defenders of Earth, he began. I am here to teach you the most expensive lesson in galactic history, one that cost an entire civilization. He looked out at the mixed human and Nigma faces. Power without wisdom is the path to destruction. Pride without humility ensures blindness. Strength without compassion leads to isolation. In the back of the hall, Captain Lisa Howard, now Admiral Howard, watched alongside Dr. Freeman and Commander Clark. They had all played parts in establishing the Interstellar Diplomatic Corps, dedicated to preventing future conflicts through communication and understanding. The Nigma Empire ignored Earth's warning, Krell continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. Our planet is gone, but something new has emerged from that loss, a partnership that makes both our peoples stronger. As the speech ended and applause filled the room, Lisa thought about the long journey from that first contact to today. The Nigma had come as conquerors, but remained as allies. Earth had faced destruction, but emerged as a leader in interstellar diplomacy. The warning had been ignored, but the lesson had been learned. And perhaps that was the greatest victory of all.